Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special episode of Flawless. This will be being released on our off week, and we thought we would come together and let you know we've got a little bit of bittersweet news, which you will already know because, again, I'll have written it in the title of the episode. So,
There we go. Yeah.
Grant, did you want to let us know what's happening?
Yes. So after 5 years.
5 years.
Unbelievable. Yeah. And 130.
It'll be 139 or so by the time it comes
130 episodes. I'm going to be leaving as a co-host of Flawless.
Yeah,
And
very definitely bittersweet.
yes. So it's certainly bittersweet. It's been an amazing journey, and I've been I'm richer, incredibly richer for the experience and for meeting you guys and the various guests that Liam and yourself have managed to get on over the years. I've got a bit on, and I've got a book coming out in
We will
a couple of months.
Promote once people can get hold of it.
Yeah, and it's I need to just focus on some other things for a little while. Mm-hmm. So
we first came together 5 years ago when we were looking to set up the podcast, and I'd gotten George to sign on, and then we were looking for a third person, and she suggested someone online whose name
Sarah Clemence,
who we thought would be great, and she was like, "No, I don't think I can do it."
She said, "Actually, I recommend my colleague Grant because he would make a case that In Rainbows is the best Radiohead album." And that piqued the interest of Liam and I.
Yeah.
Because we were like, surely everyone says the band.
Yeah. Or OK Computer or
OK Computer. Today. But it was like, okay, this guy has got some like musical interest and dance, and we approached you and you were like, give it a shot. See what happens, and joined us in the early days back when we were still at the Edge at the State Library, Queensland, hiring out a space and hiring out the equipment before we went to the realm that we're in now.
Yeah, I think we talked about it in the 100th episode. A model that would not have been scalable for 5 years. We could not have kept using the Edge for 5 years. There was a lot of episodes where people just were away because if on the day someone couldn't make it, it'd be like, too bad, we've got to book time and we can't book another time. We've got to go. Whereas now, obviously, with a different space that we can access a little more freely, so we can sort of be a bit more flexible. But yeah.
Absolutely. So we needed to have a moment with you and your time to reflect on your time with Flawless, I guess, because it's been impactful. Like, we've gone on a huge journey together, the three of us, with multiple guests. We must have had like 50 guests over the last 5 years. Yeah. So I think Liam's prepared a little. Yeah.
So we never did it for other people. It was always about us wanting to do it, which is why if you don't feel like you want to keep going, or you've got other things online, it makes perfect sense to step away. But I think it's always been about us doing it because we love doing it. And I think you've always infused that spirit all the way through. So I want to pitch that Grant has been a Flawless podcast co-host.
Yes.
With us.
I would like to second that Grant has been a Flawless podcast host.
So I've got a final pitch here, and I'll try and get through it. You've always been a trooper with us through thick and thin. You've got a great track record of nominating albums, even though we never heard that South African album you wanted to talk about. You can always rely on Grant to get excited about music, even if he's never heard it before. And we, hosts and guests, took you out of your comfort zone many times, and you always went with a mischievous grin and a smile. You were never afraid to tell us what you really thought, and never afraid to bare your soul for us, to open up to us about your deepest thoughts and your emotions. You committed wholeheartedly to the podcast, even when it seemed you would never be able to get a Flawless album across the line. You've been a co-host, a partner, a friend, a pleasure and a treasure, and the podcast won't be the same without you. So for all these reasons and many more, I believe you're a flawless podcast co-host. Over to you, George.
I would concur that, Grant, you have brought to me things that have spiked my interest and have brought back memories of really beautiful times in my life, because you have a repertoire of just picking out albums that you throw at me that throw me back to being a 15-year-old underage in a club with guys older than me playing me music saying, you've got to listen to this album by Live or Pearl Jam 10, it's the way you need to go, and all those sorts of things. And I would be amiss if I wouldn't say that my bestest friend back from the UK, Andy, would side with you on every single nomination you've ever had. And
my arch nemesis, Andy.
And so he is my enemy and Liam's enemy, because he has always been siding with you in every one of your nominations. And I want to say, in your terms, I am a richer podcaster for the things that you have brought to this podcast. There is no way we could have got through 5 years of podcasting without you here. And what you see as a weakness of saying you've never heard an album or you've never heard a band before has actually been a huge strength, because you come with fresh ears, where I might be battered down from years of listening to the same music or same genres or whatever it is. And I've thrown stuff at you from the 30s all the way through to 2022. And you will still put the effort in to listen to whatever you're uncomfortable with or is just not in your genre, your wheelhouse. And you will still come up with ways of saying, there are things about this that I enjoy. And I've loved that about you as a co-host, because you will never come with a negative attitude. You will always say, I found this difficult to listen to because, or I found this an enjoyable aspect because. And you've always done a really solid job of genuinely reviewing the music that we are listening to your highest ability. And can I also do a shout out to Emma?
100%.
Emma has been with you on some of this journey and has brought you into the Australian music for, which has been awesome. And I can recognize that you went through your life where music wasn't always accessible to you from being in South Africa. And so you didn't have the access that we had in the UK or Australia. And yet you still listened to what we had to present and came up with your views, your comments, and your feedback, and brought flawless albums and non-flawless albums for over 130 episodes, which is no mean feat. Trying to coordinate the calendars of these three people plus guests and knowing all of your commitments outside of this is incredible. So I know from the deepest depths of my heart that your strength now in your book and your commitment to your family is absolutely going to get 100% from you. And so your decision to step down from Flawless for now, whether it's temporary or permanent, it's still respected. And I want to say that I love you dearly as a co-host and as a friend and as a confidant for all these moments where our listeners don't get to hear us between recordings, and they don't get to see our group chats where what we're battling with. And yet you've been an open book so many times, and I truly respect you as a human being and as a friend.
Cool.
Thank you.
So we kind of sprung this on you so you don't have to have anything to say, but is there anything else you did want to say on the way out?
Thank you. Thanks for the tears and the snotty nose. So totally unprepared. As I said, I've loved all of this, and if it wasn't for this forum, I would not have spoken about that Matchbox 20 album. And like Emma recalls the day that I flippantly said to her, I'm doing the Matchbox 20 album, and off I went. And so you guys literally, and whoever listens to it, and it's, were the first people who'd ever heard me talk about that. And I reference this, us, Flawless in the book, and I reference that album and that story in the book. And if it wasn't for that, for us and what you've created, that story dies, or it sits and festers, and it's and it remains under the rug, which just gets bigger, or unfortunately doesn't get told, and the relevance of music and its impact doesn't get shared because other people may have attachments to albums that are incredibly important to them, and they don't necessarily realize that. And I hope that Flawless continues to prompt those conversations and to get outside a comfort zone, whether it's the South African album that I haven't brought yet, or it's something from the 1930s or whatever. And, you know, your efforts or this collective effort, and always being agile around shitty project management word.
Yeah.
Dates changing, people are sick, something's come up, kids, whatever. We've gotten through that, and guests that have come and joined and added a different dynamic, which has extended the longevity of this. It's great, and it has been us. So I'm very, very grateful for this relationship that we have, and I don't want it to be the end.
No, not at all.
I certainly don't want that.
Of course not.
No.
You are stuck with me.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about this book launch thing, and I've got no idea what it's going to involve. And so it's just a refocus for a little while. And thank you very much for your kind words. And to the Flawless fans out there, we'll see you when the next one happens, all right?
Yeah. You definitely have an open invite anytime you want to come back, even as just a once-off. But, yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank
both.
you.
Thank you, Grant,
Grant.
so much. And thank everybody for listening too.